What actually happens the moment you get assigned shares on margin? Why does almost nobody explain the part that comes right after most explanations of assignment stop at the easy part? You sold a put, the stock dropped below your strike. Now you own 100 shares. Simple, except that description quietly assumes you had the full cash sitting there to pay for those shares. If you're trading on margin, that assumption is wrong, and the gap between what people expect and what actually happens is where accounts get into trouble. Let's use real numbers. You sell a put on a stock at a $50 strike, you collect $180 in premium. In a cash-secured account, you'd have $5,000 sitting aside, ready to buy 100 shares if assigned. That's the version everyone teaches. But if you're trading in a margin account and you didn't secure the full amount in cash, here's what your broker actually did behind the scenes. They only required you to post a fraction of that $5,000, often somewhere around 20% as margin, not the full amount. So the moment you get assigned, your account doesn't just receive 100 shares, it receives 100 shares and a bill. Your broker effectively lent you the rest of that $5,000 to complete the purchase. You now owe money you didn't have to think about yesterday, and that loan starts accruing interest immediately, daily, whether you meant to borrow it or not. How much interest are we talking about? Broker margin rates vary, but a common range sits between 8 and 12% annually. On a $4,000 loan, that's roughly $320 to $480 a year in interest. Just sitting there, quietly reducing whatever gain you're hoping the stock recovers into. The $180 in premium you collected doesn't even cover 4 months of that interest bill on its own. Now here's where it gets more serious. Once you're holding those shares on margin, your broker has what's called a maintenance requirement. Typically somewhere around 25 to 30% of the position's current value. If the stock keeps dropping after assignment, that requirement doesn't stay fixed at your entry price. It recalculates against the current price every single day. Walk through this with actual numbers. You're assigned at 50, so you're holding a $5,000 position. The stock drops to 40. Your position is now worth $4,000. Your broker wants roughly 25 to 30% of that as equity, somewhere around $1,000 to $1,200. If the equity you've posted has fallen below that line because the stock dropped and took your equity down with it, you get a margin call, not a suggestion. A demand usually with a short deadline, sometimes just a day or two, to either deposit more cash or have your broker sell the position for you. This is the part almost nobody puts in the thumbnail. Your broker does not wait for a good time to sell. They don't check whether the stock is about to bounce. They don't care about your thesis. If you don't meet the call in time, they liquidate at the current price. And if the stock has been falling, that's often close to the worst possible moment. You end up selling exactly when you didn't want to sell, at exactly the price you were trying to avoid, because the math forced the decision instead of you. So why would anyone assign puts on margin at all, instead of just securing the full cash? Because it looks more efficient. You can sell more puts on more positions with the same account balance, because you're only tying up a fraction of the capital each trade technically requires. On paper, that boosts your return on capital significantly. In practice, it means every position you hold is quietly more fragile than it looks. A normal pullback that a cash-secured account could sit through without issue can trigger a forced sale in a margin account holding the same position. Here's the distinction that actually matters. Selling a cash-secured put means the worst case is this. You own a stock you already agreed to buy, at a price you already accepted, using money that was already set aside for exactly this. Nothing forces your hand, you can hold as long as you want. Selling that same put on margin changes the worst case entirely. Now, the worst case is this. You own a stock you agreed to buy, using money you're borrowing at interest, subject to a formula that can force you to sell at the exact moment the position is down the most. Does that mean margin accounts are always a mistake? No. Margin exists for a reason. Plenty of experienced traders use it deliberately, with position sizes built specifically around the maintenance math. So a normal drawdown never gets close to triggering a call. The mistake isn't using margin. The mistake is not knowing, before you place the trade, exactly what stock price would trigger a margin call on that specific position, and not having a plan for what you'd do if it happened. Before you sell a put in a margin account, do this math first, not after. Figure out your assignment price. Apply your broker's maintenance percentage. Calculate the exact stock price where you'd get a call, then ask yourself honestly whether that price is a realistic possibility for this stock over the life of the trade. If the answer makes you uncomfortable, that's not a reason to ignore it. That's the position telling you it's sized wrong. The premium you collect for selling a put is payment for a specific risk. On margin, that risk includes a scenario the premium was never designed to cover, being forced to sell on someone else's timeline, not yours. Know that number before you're staring at a margin call notice, trying to do the math in real time. Thank you for watching all the way through. If this helped you understand a risk that usually gets glossed over, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one.